Hello and a warm welcome to Business Today. My name is Ronah Nahabwe with Winnie and Nakawuki on the sign language. Thank you for your company. Now let's have a look at our first story. It is concerning how rapidly the price of goods is rising in Uganda. According to data from Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the inflation measured by the Consumer Price Index for 12 months has increased to 10.7%. Pedson Mumbere has details this report.
Economy, prices for goods and services can always change. Some prices rise, some prices fall. Inflation therefore occurs when there is a broad increase in the prices of goods and services. It means you can buy less for today than you could yesterday, and it reduces the value of the currency over the time. According to current statistics, the inflation rate for 12 months to October 2022 increased to 10.7% compared to 10% registered in September 2022.
Index for Uganda for the 12 months to October 2022 increased to 10.7% compared to 10.0% registered for the year ended September 2022. This increase was mainly driven by prices of commodities under the core inflation that increased to 8.9% in the year ending October 2022 compared to 8.1% registered in the year ended September 2022.
According to statisticians, the other driver of increased inflation in the country was annual food crops and other related items inflation, whose prices increased to a tune of 33.8% in October compared to 30.3% recorded in September. Could there be a reason to worry?
By the time an inflation is out of hand, you'd have what we call maybe hyperinflation. No? You come from town in the morning, if you are using public means, it is you are paying 5,000. By the time you are going back in the evening, it is 14,000 or 18. It changes all the time. Tomorrow you wake up in the morning, it has gone up. That is what we call out of hand. Right now it is fully under control.
Specifically, the price of a bunch of matoke increased to a tune of 75.4%. Mukunda Chiza deals in matoke, and he told Smart 24 TV that one bunch used to sell at 15,000, but now is selling at 35,000 to 45,000.
Mabega ku gatigana bakubula byali ku mutwalo gumu kitundu mutwalo gumu kitundu kate sawa zino ku mulimiri ku mitwalo 3 ku mitwalo na kitundu.
Does not necessarily have to be the transport the factor driving commodities, especially food crops and related items. We know that matoke season is January and July, so this has to be a seasonality issue, not necessarily petrol and diesel. So we are happy to report that matoke, the reasons as to why, or the major reason as to why matoke inflation is high is because they are off-season.
The monthly inflation for October 2022 also increased by 0.8% from 1.5% raise recorded in the month of September. As measured by the Consumer Price Index, this was mainly attributed to the monthly core inflation that rose 0.8 to 0.8% recorded in October. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Moving on, now the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, Honorable Robin Anabanja, has called upon investors to add value to Uganda's products. That's by supporting the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative, while launching a furniture manufacturing showroom that costs about $8.25 billion in the country. Let's have the report.
The Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy aims to encourage the use of locally produced commodities and local labor. In order for Bobo concept to be successful, Ugandans must position themselves so that we can each contribute and benefit from the development of the country's economy. Uganda's Premier, Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, urged foreign investors to hire locals and engage in agro-processing in order to increase value of product, re-echoing what the president has been sensitizing.
Investors come here, they create jobs, consume our raw materials, pay taxes, and help build our country. I would like to see more and more of the products displayed in this showroom bear the logo Made in Uganda.
To promote regional and local economy, since there is a sizable market for them, the regional distributors, ABC Group, has developed strategies to prevent people from traveling to the USA to buy these products, according to Brian Ombego, area sales manager, Hansgrohe.
There's a big market, but the information is what was missing in the past. So at the moment, we are providing information to the architects, interior designers, and clients to be able to make the decision. So in the past, there's a lot of people here who can afford our products, but they've been buying them somewhere else. So what we are trying to avoid is a client going to the US to buy the same product that they can get here in Uganda. So these are the solutions as Hansgrohe we are trying to provide to the market. We're trying to avoid all those complicated ways to buy in the market by giving you solutions locally through a local distributor. Very easy way to get the products of Hansgrohe.
In addition to that, ABC Group founder and managing director Muhammad Madan reveals that they have good relations with Hansgrohe and working with more people such as builders to promote Buy Uganda, Build Uganda initiative, and appreciates Ugandans for having good performance in their industry.
Focusing on the premium high-end luxury brand, Laufen is from Switzerland, and various brands we are focusing on more high-end category of products that suitable for the upcoming generations.
90% of Uganda's private sector is made up of SMEs, 80% of which are found in cities. These provide 75% of the country's gross domestic product and employ about 2.5 million people. If the Buy Uganda, Build Uganda policy is completely implemented, it will help MSMEs grow by guaranteeing them a ready market, which will affect their earnings and growth. Story compiled by Samuel Chirimonda for Smart 24 TV Business Today.
Let's now look at Ebola's impact. Now, currently, the western and the central regions of Uganda are currently experiencing an ongoing outbreak of the Sudan Ebola virus. This has had an impact on businesses, particularly on the private sector expansion, agriculture, output, and trade. A more recent analysis that appeared in the Journal of the Infectious Diseases pegs the entire societal and economical costs of the outbreak at a cost of $53 billion. Let's have a look.
Since traders were the most negatively impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak, the economy is still striving to recover from the blow. Due to the shutdown of Mubende and Kasanda, two important cities for food production and routes for accessing food coming from the west, there is already a chain production effect in Kampala contributing to food prices. Any pandemic has a significant impact on business and entrepreneurship since they are fueled by people. This necessitates resiliency and taking proper safeguards, so business people shouldn't panic, but rather find solutions, such as remaining focused and prepared for any impending hazard.
Health problems always affect business. Our market is population. Our purchase is population. Our expenses are population. So entrepreneurship, business, and any pandemic, you cannot say that it will not affect. It does affect very, very strongly, and it does bring the businesses down. There is no doubt about it. But as I said, when we have no choice issues, it is better we mitigate the losses through right responses. Like right responses are like taking precautions and doing our work nicely. So let's agree that our death possibility is from the day we are born. Do we agree? Yeah. Okay. So we should not get panicked. One day we have to go. The situation should be under our control. We should not be under the control of situation. And normalize the mindsets that business has nothing to do with newspaper threats. Whether it is of Ebola, whether it is of COVID, or whether it is of any entertainers. So the question remains is, can we hold the grounds?
Due to their first-hand experience with the lockdown and current situation of the nation, merchants at arcades and shopping malls are fearful of another one because they haven't recovered from COVID-19 shutdown. The top traders are ready and waiting to combat the epidemic with the best SOPs.
The environment in downtown or in Kampala or in Uganda. First of all, our traders are in a fear that they hope that they can bring back their most fearless, I think, a nightmare. Their nightmare. It's a lockdown because of this pandemic, Ebola pandemic. So, but for us as leaders, we hope that we don't need it. Even people per now are still crying because they don't have customers, though we are in a season festival, but we haven't yet received customers. And when you add on that thing of lockdown, COVID, Ebola lockdown, as they are hearing around, they are still in rumors, but everyone is asking about, are you ready for the lockdown? How safe are you? Though for us, we are prepared enough because we have a team of 50 UTR members who are ready to teach Kampala Metropolitan about Ebola.
However, in order to control this epidemic, the government should collaborate with traders and put regular SOPs into place as they fight Ebola through routine use of protection. This is because lockdown will severely harm the business sector, and we are unsure whether the economy, particularly the business sector, will recover after another lockdown.
Let us try whatever we can to fight the spread of Ebola. Let us fully implement SOPs, and then we are working closely with the Ministry of Health, KCCA, and Ministry of Trade to make sure Kampala doesn't go back in lockdown. So as Kasita, we are not in support of locking the metropolitan area. We know Ebola is serious, but together we can fight Ebola. Kampala is the heart of the city, is the capital city of Uganda.
The Ebola epidemic will severely impact the business sector. This is through reducing production of goods and services, reducing the number of customers, and also reducing the tax collection. However, the government can overcome this by working together with the business communities to regulate the SOPs of Ebola. Martha Nimsima, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Martha Nimsima, for that report. Now, statistics from Bank of Uganda and the Uganda Bureau of Statistics show that the saving habits in Uganda need serious improvement, with only 54% of Ugandan adults saving an average of 6,000, that is according to 2019 Finscope report. This nation's saving culture is still in the formative years, and World Saving Day offers a wonderful opportunity to emphasize the importance of saving for money. Let's have a report.
The impacts of COVID-19 pandemic showed how important it is to save money for contingencies. Saving money lessens one's economic fragility and helps you deal with uncertainty better. 57% of Ugandans would not be able to maintain their standard of living just after 1 day of lockdown, according to the 2020 COVID-19 Finscope analysis, which assesses financial service needs and the gaps in financial service availability. After 15 days, a total of 81% would not be able to maintain it. The inadequate saving culture contributes to this lack of financial readiness.
That COVID taught us a lot, but then came the Ukraine and Russia war. We didn't know it was coming. There's so many things that it might be an indicator of a lot more to come. And so we are challenging ourselves, not the public, ourselves and the entire public this year to do this.
Uganda's saving figures look low when compared to other East African countries like Kenya, whose population saves at a rate of 23%, Tanzania at 13%, and Rwanda at 18%. According to statistics, Ugandans have a very poor saving culture.
And there is a level of ignorance, which the Banking and Financial Service Awareness Month will actually tackle. There's the issue of access, which is improved now with mobile money, with agency banking. But there's probably also the issue of attitudes. And again, we are also trying to make sure.
However, in light of the current state of the economy, where the central bank has boosted the central bank rate, saving performance has also decreased. However, the Deputy Governor exhorted Ugandans to save the little they have in order to have a better future.
In a very, very challenging time such as one now, I think we need to sit down and ask ourselves, what can I cut from my expenditure? What can I prioritize? All right? I mean, I'll tell you one thing. The other day, His Excellency the President said that if the cost of some import items have gone up, and that's some that are locally produced, why don't you substitute those, particularly the price is very low? That difference, you can save it.
The most recent results of a demand-side survey show that 54%, which represent 10 million of adult Ugandans, save money or set it aside for later use. The majority of those who save, 37%, do so to pay costs like food and school fees, while 26% save for unplanned expenses like illness. In contrast, 46% of Ugandans who do not save said they do not do so because they don't have enough money to pay their bills. Monica Nabyonga, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Monica Nabyonga, for that report. Now, to more effectively tackle money laundering and other financial crimes, the Financial Intelligence Authority has decided to go digital, compared to the manual method, which has been slow and has had other problems. This will make it easier to keep track of any authorized and unauthorized financial transfers. Let's have a look at this story.
For more than 8 years, the Financial Intelligence Authority has needed a responsible person or firm to physically register their organization. This process was difficult for both Financial Intelligence Authority and the companies because it involved long queues, long hours, and a lot of paper waste, among other issues. The Executive Director of the Financial Intelligence Authority claims that e-registration will make it simple for them to monitor all these businesses and, as a result, enable them to detect money laundering.
The system is doing is to make it easier, because we have been doing it manually, and we're saying and there are so many inefficiencies with manual registration processes. So what we're doing here is simply to digitalize them, not only to digitize but digitalize them. So it makes it easier. So that means the purpose for having a register is that to know all the reporting entities you have in the country across the 16 categories, because in the second schedule to the Act, there's a list of all the categories. The Act lists 16 of them. Initially there were 15, and then virtual asset service providers were added 2 years ago. So that is the purpose. If you know who's supposed to be a reporting entity, then you're able to check on an annual basis whether they are complying with the obligations. One, they're supposed to file annual reports. So if you have a complete register, you will know who has not filed and who has filed the annual reports.
Ugandans have been told by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime that the software included in this Go email and registration will assist in reporting suspicious transaction reports to the Financial Intelligence Authority and other law enforcement agencies.
The software then provides an advanced platform to the analysis of the Financial Intelligence Unit to analyze and exchange information with other law enforcement intelligence databases to build the case using many resources. GoML provides the functionality to disseminate these cases to local prosecution for an investigation to be launched by enforcement, increasing the conviction rate thanks to the completeness and granularity of the rich information provided.
Despite the seeming benefits of all this new technology, the government is aware that cybercrime and terrorism are two new types of crimes that necessitate spending on cybersecurity in order to safeguard people's finances and their businesses.
Remains a major area that we need to work towards. And NITA, and of course the government of Uganda, is securing the government assets, but we have to, of course, work closely with the private sector to also clearly secure their systems, because the more digital you go, the more susceptible you are to cybersecurity attacks. So we're seeing a huge surge in cybersecurity attacks around the mobile money area, but also traditional banks are actually really, they hardly talk about it, I'm sure, for many reasons, but they're really going through a surge of major attacks.
Financial Intelligence Authority is mandated to track financial crimes. For the past 8 years, they have been doing it manually, which has been very difficult to track the offenders. With the introduction of the e-registration, there is hope that the offenders will be put to an end. Samla Hanifa, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
Thank you, Hanifa, for that story. Now, Business Today will now take a short break. Please keep it Smart 24.
Smart 24, driving business.
For stories you can't let go, only on Pearl Magic Prime.
You know the crowd is ready.
Okay, we gotta go live now. Everyone tuning in to Super Sport.
Welcome all over the world. You know the crowd is. You know the crowd is. You know the crowd is. It's time for the main event. We've waited a very long time, an age for some. It is delicious, glorious, glorious. Just like.
Are you ready for football's greatest season? Live on SuperSport, only on DSTV.
Smart 24, driving business.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. My name is Ronah Nahabwe with Winnie and Nakawuki on the sign language. Now moving on, a number of traders operating in downtown Kampala are yet to vacate arcades for low-cost working spaces in the city suburbs, that is to salvage their businesses, leaving landlords stuck with empty buildings. This is because landlords have imposed value-added tax on them, yet by law they are only subjected to rental tax. The high operational costs are worsened by the rising inflation and the high bank interest rates, which may leave many borrowers stressed.
Nowadays, landlords are collecting value addition tax, VAT, from their tenants, which is not in order. It's not in order, these landlords, to collect VAT from their tenants. We pay you your rent. You need to deduct VAT from that rent. And the bad thing, you know what you're covering behind. And we don't want to go into deep things. We as leaders for traders, because also you also our landlords and we are your tenants. But try to stop this habit.
Value-added tax is a consumption tax assessed on the value added in each production stage of a good or a service. Every business along the value chain receives a tax credit for the VAT already paid. The end user does not, making it a tax on final consumption. One registers for VAT in Uganda when the taxable turnover from the business activities for 3 consecutive months is 37.5 million shillings or more. The annual threshold for the VAT registration is 150 million shillings. The Act sets no minimum threshold for non-individual persons. On the other hand, the tax rate applicable to an individual for the purposes of rental income tax is 12% of annual gross rental income in excess of 2,820,000 shillings. Through a phone interview, one of the traders says that this came due to an intimidation by landlords who wanted to know how much they earn so that they can easily be charged. He also says that from the rental tax, URA takes 20%, landlords take 30%, and the rest is minimized in profit by these business people.
2,820,000. That means that's the person who qualifies to pay. Other than that, below that, then you don't qualify to pay rental tax. Other landlords probably wanted to pass the obligation to the whatever the responsibility of the tenant, which caused some kind of scuffle within some landlords and tenants. Then URA came out clearly and was like, no. At the end of the day, it's all about. Right now, it will probably depend on the tenant. If you've already acquired the knowledge that what you are paying for was probably not in the legal framework, then probably maybe they need to negotiate with their landlords and probably find a way how they can negotiate. They wanted to create probably fear within their tenants, and they wanted to suffocate them to reveal out the truth of how much they pay. Because certain buildings in Kampala, the truth is not as there is under declaring, whereby you find the landlord is.
According to the quarterly performance report released by Uganda Revenue Authority for the financial year 2022-2023, rental tax recovered from a 19 billion deficit last financial year to 1.4 billion shillings on the strength of an improved business climate and the taxman's administrative measures. Shortfalls were registered in the value-added tax at 41.28 billion shillings. In Uganda, only 46 people who don't save claim that they don't do so because they can't afford to pay their bills. We observe how this might be combated to the poor saving sicknesses among Uganda with this poor saving culture today in today's episode of Coffee Court.
Well, it's a pleasure and thank you for joining us once again on the Coffee Court, where we ask the critical questions, but most importantly, questions that matter. And in the whole world, we join the entire world to celebrate the World Savings Day. What does this mean on the side of the Microfinance Regulatory Authority? I am privileged to speak to Edith Tusubira, who is the Executive Director of the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Madam Tusubira, Edith, it's a pleasure. Thank you for sparing time to speak to us.
Welcome, welcome, Fred. Nice to be here today. And for the viewers, I would like to simply say happy savings day today. And also, before I can keep quiet, I want to say to encourage you to put savings together. Savings can help us. Savings save our situation in the hard days. Savings can help us during the difficult days and also the good days. In the good days, we save and invest and earn incomes. In the bad days, we save and get solutions to our problems. Right now, we are in the era where we have some Ebola. I know there are people who are not moving. If they had savings, savings would help them right now. So I'd like to encourage us to increasingly save.
Okay. I don't want to assume that everybody knows your role and responsibility as Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. What are these anyway?
Thank you so much, Fred. Our mandate is to license, regulate, and supervise microfinance institutions and all money lenders in the country.
Okay.
What I mean by microfinance institutions, we have the subsector of SACCOs in the country. We regulate microfinance institutions that do not take deposits, so we call them non-deposit taking microfinance organizations. We also regulate self-help groups, call them VCLAs, and usually our people used to call some of them Nigina, if you want to call it.
During those days, Nigina
During those
used to be very
days,
famous.
we used to
I don't know
call
what happened nowadays.
Nigina. Now they are doing savings in different forms, but we also have a tiered system, which I'll explain shortly. But also we do regulate all money lenders. If you realize there has been some improvement, we used to have a lot of complaints about money lenders. These days, they are required to have a license and they are regulated by Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. It is mandated to do their work through a law, the Law of Tier 4 Microfinance Institutions and Money Lenders Act 2016.
So good enough you're talking about things like tires, which you people in some of these offices assume that everybody knows. There's Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4. What are these anyway?
In 1999, thank you for the question. In 1999, Bank of Uganda realized that the growth of microfinance was really becoming a headache. There were so many things happening in the field, but yet them as that time, the only regulator who was existing, they couldn't manage. They couldn't regulate everybody. So they said, we are going to put a tiered system. You can call it a mitendera. So we have the Tier 1, which regulates big commercial banks like Stanbic Bank, like Centenary Bank, DFCU, and others. So many banks as you see them, they're all under Tier 1. There's what they call Tier 2.
Okay.
Tier 2 are basically financial institutions that take credit only. Usually you can think of Post Bank, you can think of Opportunity Bank, and others.
Okay.
And then we also have Tier 3. Tier 3 comprises of institutions that upgraded from the, you remember microfinance has been growing since around that time.
True.
Some of them grew so big, and then it was important for them to be regulated, so they became Tier 3.
Okay.
An example I have is Finca. Finca, I have Ugaford.
Okay.
All those are microfinance institutions formerly, but now they are regulated by the central bank, Bank of Uganda.
Okay.
Now there's this very, very huge sector, Tier 4, which came into being again because of the transformation under the microfinance sector, where we had a lot of things happening, and so we grew our SACCOs, they are called savings and credit organizations, grew so big also. And in the process of growing, they started attracting a lot of deposits. When they attracted the money, it was important that there is someone who looks at them.
Okay.
Right now, we have the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority to look at what is happening in those SACCOs. What is happening in the MFIs that are fairly big? Like, for example, Platinum Credit. We also regulate Letshego, we regulate Bayport, we regulate...
So all these fall under your docket?
They fall under this docket. And they are so huge that we need to know what is taking place in that sector. And we are happy to inform you that we have made very serious inroads. Right now, Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority is regulating over 1,430 institutions.
Across Uganda?
Across Uganda, and we are still continuing. Right now, I can also quickly update that we have a system, an MIS system which we are using to gather that information. We since discovered, actually FinScope discovered through our research, that so many Ugandans keep their money under Tier 4.
Okay.
They are refusing to take it to Tier 1, 2, and 3.
And why do you think is propelling them to bring it to Tier 4, which is you as a regulator, not elsewhere?
Because they thought that it is a space, some of them for the good reasons, others for not exactly very nice reasons. But those who went there for the good reasons is because they felt like savings mobilization is easier for them. Usually when they could tell us things like, when you walk to the bank, sometimes you hear a lot of English and it becomes very complex.
So there's no English to issues of microfinance.
Under the circle, you transact in your local language and people understand. And when you go there, you speak your Chiganda, you're speaking to another one who is coming to you in Chiganda, or is speaking in Chinyankore, or is speaking in Lugbar, and you understand each other.
So Madam Tusubira, we are celebrating the World Savers Day at a time. Maybe there are concerns, you've had some of, maybe the negative concerns that come to your desk. Have you?
Because we are celebrating the World Savings Day, we want to put it in two contexts. What I want to say right now, the Ugandans who have been mobilizing their own savings out there, we want to tell them that Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority has put a system in place for them. Where you are in your district, you put together your resources and you remain with the resources but report on them. We have guidelines right now which are going to start working January 2023, and these self-help group guidelines will help you even if you don't go to report in a bank and put your savings. At least we shall know by a district registry which district registry are mandated to report to UMRA how you have put your mobilize your savings together. I want to very quickly reckon the fact that government is not looking to take anybody's money.
It is not.
We only are trying to protect those savers out there who once in a while, like I told you that for some good or bad, some people have bad intentions. So they've been going to take those resources. They who doing some other Ugandans out there who put their resources together. So we are interested in knowing what happened, so you can, in that process, report a problem.
So do you have a system that monitors? Because you said you deal with the fellow colleague,
yes,
whom you speak the same language.
Yes.
So how are you as UMRA in position to monitor and be satisfied that the finances have actually gone to the right
For
person?
as long as Ugandans will follow those guidelines, like we are mentioning, that the guidelines are in place, follow them, respect and go and report to the commercial development commercial officers, district commercial officers out there in the district, and you put your record there, and the record is translated to UMRA. You know very well that is the process of how to be able to report on those resources. And once there is a problem, we shall start from there and be able to follow up what was happening.
The world still continues to celebrate the World Savers Day. What are the major concerns you register at office?
The major concerns we register as of the moment is that, for example, SACCOs. The system of SACCO reporting has been a bit weak, whereby we have been finding the committees that come together to when committees come together to mobilize resources or funds from the fellow members in the SACCO. Sometimes we have had swindling happening there. So thefts have happened, and those ones have been challenging to us. So what we are trying to do is to ensure that we put a system in place to be able to understand what goes on beyond the SACCO system. Government will try to use the UMRA organization through our Tier 4 sector to understand what goes on in those circles. And this is all in the plan of helping savings mobilization.
Okay. I know in your preamble you talked about the culture of saving. COVID-19 has not only affected the other sector, but I know it has also partly negatively contributed to the percentage under which people save.
Yes.
Has it crippled you in any way?
Yes, all of us were significantly affected by by the COVID-19. And as soon as we went through that, as soon as we got a semblance of peace when COVID was coming down, World Bank asked us to do a survey, which we did, and discovered that so many of these institutions were really affected. So many Ugandans could not, first of all, save. But microfinance has been working to put together resources at basic levels. So what really happened is that it became difficult to even take the savings. You remember transmission was by movement, so you could not exchange when you can't touch money. You remember in Italy they threw the money away. So it became very complex and it required digital platforms. So we quickly encouraged people in the system of microfinance to start using digital mechanisms. But now when we started using digital mechanisms, it also required that the regulator goes digital. So as we speak right now, Uganda Microfinance is going to regulate through a system. So licensing does not require you to come to the office, walking all the way from Arua so that you can come to Kampala for a license. You'll be sitting from 2023, you will be sitting, and rather 2024, you will be sitting and entering your information on a system, and you are able to, at the end of the day, get a license. This is to enable everybody to get on a license and everybody to be regulated, and at the end of the day, we shall have a properly regulated environment. If we reduce our informal sector to some form of organization, it will be to the benefit of all Ugandans, so that we are able to understand how much is this money that Ugandans can mobilize by themselves. And if they are able to mobilize for themselves, it means we shall be at some point to know that we have 100 trillion under Tier 4 sector. And if we have that one, why are we borrowing at very high interest rates?
So do you have stimulus packages for good savers? For God's sake, anyway.
I can only announce that the package we have, we are organizing for all those who are licensing with UMRA.
But is that fair enough?
Government is organizing what they call an invite project.
Is that fair enough?
Where that invite project, people will benefit.
Is that fair enough, especially when the rate of savings is actually going high? I would think you would probably do more than that.
Yes, we will. We will bring more, but what we are trying to now solve is the problem of liquidity in business. There's no reason why, if we have mobilized all that money under the Tier 4 sector, people will continue to borrow at very high rates. Right now, we have already seen it happening with Emioga, with PDM. We shall continue mobilizing until we get people to organize their own fund. And if that fund is very well regulated, there is no reason why we will not benefit as Ugandans.
I am told the wise person is the one who does three things: who learns and relearns.
Yes.
What are those three critical things that you've learned, you need to learn, and you need to unlearn, as we plan to wind up this discussion?
I would quickly think that the critical things I can talk about is allow yourself to be vulnerable and learn to save. When you are saving, it's painful in the beginning, but when it starts to solve your problem, it gets to be very interesting. That is why I said save and invest. After you invest, you get some income. When you get some income, in the pool, we shall reduce our interest rates. So I can quickly say that I want to encourage Ugandans to embrace savings and grow their savings so that our economies can finally grow.
Madam Edith, thank you for speaking to us. I know it's quite a bit hectic.
Yes.
But that is it for the Coffee Court today. I've been speaking to the Executive Director of the Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority, Madam Edith Tusubira. And this is Smart 24 TV.
Great insights there from Fred Makubi and the ED, the Executive Director of Uganda Microfinance Regulatory Authority. Now, since we are speaking coffee court, let's look at coffee production in Uganda. Since coffee has been the top exporter since 1980s, coffee cultivation in Uganda has over the years demonstrated to be one of the major drivers of the nation's economy. To ensure that every segment of the population gains from this successful endeavor, the Area Press Championship, a tournament that unites baristas from around the world, is the most current development in the coffee industry. Mary Goreti Nachiganda reports.
The goal of the International AeroPress Championship is to identify the greatest cup of AeroPress coffee made worldwide. Alan Adler created the simple-to-use manual AeroPress, which uses pressure to make coffee. Competition participants have 5 minutes to prepare a coffee during the multi-round elimination tournament. There were only 3 competitors when it was first hosted in Oslo, Norway in 2008, but it gained prominence every year after that. With the intention of increasing the prominence of the barista profession and so lowering Uganda's unemployment rate, Uganda has joined the other 60 nations in these competitions.
Is that, so you know, baristas are very key in determining the quality of the coffee of the country. These are the most technical people, especially when it comes to cup. And therefore, that's why you see I'm encouraging young people, especially on the barista section, to take up this seriously. One, it's creating a job for them. Do you know, as a country, we have more skilled baristas going to the Middle East, earning about $1,000, $1,200, rather than, to me, sending domestic workers.
A number of participants in the coffee value chain, including hotels, coffee shops, barista schools, sent representatives to compete in these events with the hopes of representing Uganda at the International Championships in Vancouver, Canada, from the 1st to the 3rd of December 2022. The chairman of the Uganda Organizing Committee for these contests adds further details.
This competition here is basically meant to, number one, to social network and attract the youth into the coffee industry, the coffee value chain, and also to make them get sensitized on issues pertaining coffee quality.
Over 2 million families are supported by coffee growing in Uganda along the many value chains, from farmers to processors, exporters, baristas, roasters, and consumers. Uganda has surpassed Vietnam to become the second largest supplier of coffee to Italy after Brazil, according to the data from the International Coffee Organization and the Uganda Coffee Development Authority. The quality and distinctive characteristics of Ugandan coffee have made it a highly sought-after commodity worldwide. Nelson adds that a variety of reasons have contributed to this.
You must have realized that about 4 years ago, we were about 3.5 million bags to 4 million bags. Now we're getting close to about 7.5 to 8 million bags. So in terms of production, yes, we are, and it's about an issue of demand and supply. And I think there's been a lot of government intervention, especially on the production side, where, you know, the Operation Wealth Creation, that's OWC, together with UCD and government of Uganda, pushing for more seedlings and mobilizing people and everyone to make sure they go into coffee production. I think one that has brought that increase, and we're looking more forward now to see how a farmer, an individual farmer, household farmer, a big farmer, can be able probably to come from 1.5 kilo per tree, probably 3 kilos per tree. And therefore, if we did that, probably by applying maybe organic fertilizer and different fertilizers, doing best practices, applying water, and then immediately you'll go to about, for the next season, you'll go immediately to about ×2.
One industry that is widening the country's business and job options is the coffee industry, which also hopes to raise the per capita income of citizens and expand the government's revenue base. For the correct advancement of the coffee sector in Uganda, a number of initiatives have also been proposed by the people in the coffee value chain.
Ambassadors to represent Ugandan brand in those developed countries, because what I've seen, what Kenya has done is that they have like ambassadors, like more of, are they called unions or societies? So their coffee already in countries like UK or USA, they have like a stall, or they have like a state where you can go and get Kenyan coffee. So also if Uganda, we can pick a leaf on that. So we have like ambassadors who can represent us, source the coffee from Uganda, and then take it to the real market, like to the people who can buy it in European countries. It can help a lot. So Embargo Coffee, we've been skilling more of the youths. So far we have skilled over 80 youths in the coffee barista skills. And we are also looking at introducing coffee quality courses and roasting courses for people who would love to learn how to roast coffee and also do proper branding. And
for out there, young girls, young boys, the youth who claim there are no jobs, being a barista or being a coffee personnel does not require you to have a lot of money or a degree. You need to go look out for these nice schools, because we have very people who are passionate about coffee, who have set up organizations that are helping us.
The annual Aeropress Championship will therefore seek to introduce young people to the coffee culture, provide employment possibilities, and also raise domestic coffee consumption, further supporting Ugandan agriculture sector. Margaret Nachiganda, Smart 24 TV, Business Today.
All right, now Business Today will now end here, but if you missed it, there is a link on YouTube at Smart 24 TV and more updates of the same on other media platforms. My name is Ronah Nahabwe with Winnie and Nakawuki. Again, thank you for your company. From my team and I, it's good evening.